So, hi everybody. This is Leslie here, and I'm here with a very, very special guest. This is Aaron Green, and this is the first time me and Aaron are meeting actually as well. The reason why I wanted to bring Aaron on is because, as some of you know, I have had a second chance at life, but and it's made me more aware of my spiritual journey, which is what I'm on at the moment. And I do social housing in property. So on one of my very long drives back from Birmingham to Cambridge in the UK, I came across Aaron on an interview about his near-death experience when he was a child. And Aaron has experience and memories of his previous lives, awareness in terms of he's met the creator. I thought this was an amazing experience. And so I reached out to Aaron to see whether he'd be willing to come on so I could share his amazing story with all of you. Because I think if you are not ready, there is more that you must be aware that this life is just part of the journey, and we can't stay here forever. So at some point, most of us have wondered or are wondering, what is the purpose of my life, right? Why am I here? So I'm hoping through Aaron's experience, we can learn a bit more about why we're here. Okay, Aaron, I'm going to hand this over to you.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, I'll just start with a little background about myself and then just go right into my experience. So I'm married. I have three kids. I live in Virginia in the United States. I work as an electrical engineer. I work at the company that makes aircraft carriers and submarines for the U.S. Navy. And I was born in Durham, North Carolina in 1975. And when I was two, my parents moved to Virginia. And back in the 70s, we didn't have all these, TVs and games and video games and phones and all that stuff. So as kids, we would just run around the neighborhood, play with other kids. That's pretty much what we did every day. And one day, shortly before my sixth birthday, I was in a neighbor's backyard playing with some friends, maybe five or six friends, and my brother was there. We were just doing stuff the kids do, um, having fun or whatever. And something happened to me, and I couldn't breathe. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get a breath of air into my lungs. And it was becoming uh, it was obvious that this was becoming a problem. I knew this was getting serious. So I started trying to go home. I was going to try to go to see my parents and get some help. But I only made it about 20 feet away from my friends, and this breathing problem triggered something. It triggered the release of my soul or consciousness from my body. I left my body, and I could literally see my body fall to the ground. Like I watched it fall. And I was just kind of floating there, and a couple things happened really fast. The first thing that happened is my life, like my entire life in extreme detail, like everything, it flashed in front of me. It's like it replayed all those 6 years of life, and the twist was not only did I re-experience every thought and emotion and event that I did, but like I could feel how I had affected other people. I could feel, and as a kid, it was mainly my parents that stood out. I could feel how what I had done had affected them. I could literally feel my father's anger at, he was a good father and everything, but dealing with a screaming child, changing dirty diapers, that kind of thing. Like I could literally feel his frustration and some of his anger at some of that. And then my mother, it really stood out the love that she had for me. Like that really, it had like a deeper impact. Like I could feel it. It had an importance to it, and it was just like self-evident in that during that event. Anyway, after my life flashed in front of me, I noticed a light in the distance. It looked a little bit like a star, but I knew it wasn't a star. Like I instinctively knew that there was something really important about this light, but I didn't know what it was, and I didn't understand, so I didn't really continue to focus my attention on it. So I was just kind of, floating there next to my body, and I looked at my friends and what I had been doing with them. It seemed so important, and now it seemed like completely trivial. And and one thing really stood out that's kind of hard to explain is the flow of time was different there. Like I could literally feel that somehow time works differently, and I can't explain it. except that it's different. The way we think of time, that we're so trapped in this, the linear progression of time, it just doesn't work that way. It's fundamentally different in a way that I can't really explain. Um, but I started to have questions, and as I would have questions, it's like answers would come to me, it was almost like a remembering, but it was at a spiritual level, so it was different. Uh, it's like things that I had previously known or previously been through. It's like they came back to me to answer the questions that I had. And one of the first questions I had was like, "What am I?" It was obvious I'm not just this human being. I'm something different. And I was like, "Well, what am I?" And I could see myself. I was a round orb of consciousness, just a like a little ball of faint light. As a kid, it reminded me of an egg or maybe a bubble, something like that. There was some kind of internal structure to it, but I can't explain it. I didn't understand it then. I don't now. But basically, I was just a round orb of consciousness, and it was very comfortable to be like that. It wasn't scary or painful or anything like that. It was more comfortable than being in a human body. Like I was glad to be like that. Like it was nice. It was a nice way to be. Um, so I had more questions. I was like, okay, well, I'm this round orb of consciousness. That seems odd, but okay. Yet there's a familiarity to it. Like I'd been like that before. Um, and I had a question. I wanted to know, okay, well, where did I come from? And why am I here? What in this place? Like what's going on? And so this experience that I had been through previously, it replayed for me in detail and answered the question. So this spiritual memory, it started out, I was a orb of consciousness with hundreds or thousands of other orbs, and we existed in what I call a sea of light. It was like there was a whole bunch of us all together, and it was extremely bright, very, very bright. And we were all content and safe and reasonably happy. And we had no background, no experience, no knowledge. We were like completely ignorant. We were like, as I view it, we were little baby souls. Like we had done nothing, we knew nothing, but we were safe and reasonably happy, and we were kind of like friends with each other. But we just kind of existed like that. Um, and periodically, we would receive some kind of treat or gift or something. I'm not sure what it was, but it was like one of these gifts would come down, and every one of us souls, we would get one, and we enjoyed it. As a kid, it reminded me kind of like getting a cookie, something that's nice to have, but you don't need it. It wasn't food or anything, but it was something on the spiritual level that was kind of like a little gift. Anyway, one time there was one fewer of these gifts than there were souls in the group. And so I made the conscious decision, okay, I want one of these, but I know everyone around me, they want one too. So I'm just going to give off what I want so that those around me can have it because I know that they're going to enjoy it. So I'll just pass on it this time. And when the last gift came to the last soul, I was very gently lifted up out of this group. And I want to stress how gently I was treated, how carefully I was treated. Like it was like I could feel the gentleness or care of lifting me, so as not to like jerk me around or anything. It was like very gentle, and simultaneously I was contacted like a telepathic communication, like mind to mind communication, and a very powerful entity was communicating with me, and basically it said, "I'm your creator, and you're very much loved, and what you did, giving up what you want for those around you is very important, and it means that you're ready to begin." And I, of course, I didn't really understand what all that meant, but my creator, who I'll just call God for simplicity, God explained that. I was very, very, very much cared for, and I was very important and special and unique. And I don't just mean me, but I mean all of the souls that are with. We were all very important and very much loved, and that God had a fantastic existence ready for us, like just absolutely fantastic. Um, God stressed that it's a wonderful thing to exist, and I'm going to be really thrilled. I'm going to be extremely happy with this, with my existence. There's so much good stuff for me to enjoy. But he went on to explain that I was simple and ignorant, and I needed to learn. I needed to get an education, get some experience, basically educate myself before I would be properly able to enjoy my existence. And he said that now this training is going to be difficult, it's going to be challenging, but it's completely worth it. And the confidence that he had, it was absolute. It is absolutely confident that this was a good plan. And I said, well, okay, that sounds good, but can't you just change me? Can't you just make me how I need to be so I can enjoy my existence? Do I really need to go through some kind of difficult thing? Like, why don't you just make me so I can enjoy it? And
I
God
think,
explained he was absolutely capable of changing me in any way he wanted to, but that we were created with free will. And the free will part of it was extremely important, like critically important. I can't stress that enough. So much of how life exists, how things are today, are a consequence of our free will. Anyway, um, so how it worked was he went on to explain that he wanted souls that could think for themselves and make their own decisions. He didn't want just like uh, just like slaves to him. He wanted us to be free to do and think what we wanted. And how it works is God explained that He's compassionate, kind, generous, loving, uh, respectful, has integrity, all these positive traits. Like that, that's what God is, kind, compassionate, all of this stuff. And for us to really enjoy our existence, we need to freely choose those same traits for ourselves. Um, and God had prepared a education where we get what we give out, and through you know basically repeated iterations, we inevitably are going to learn to be good to other people, or to be good to others. It was that straightforward. We're going to learn to adopt all these godly traits for ourselves. So I said, okay, that sounds reasonable. And then God said, basically, okay, well, before you go, would you like to see my face? And I said, okay, sure, I guess so. And my attention was turned. I had been looking at all these souls that I had been with, and it was turned, and I was facing a humongous sun-like entity. To me, it looked like a giant sun, only um, there was a whole bunch of activity inside. There was countless souls inside, and they were kind of like one with God and one with each other, but they were also their own entity at the same time. And a couple of them came to the surface to say hi to me, and I could see their face clearly, and they basically welcomed me into existence, and they essentially said, uh, we're so happy that you're here. We can't wait till you join us. The way it worked was my soul is unique. Like there's no other soul like me. Uh, we're all um, we're all like masterpieces, and there's no replacement. We're irreplaceable. And when I joined them, I would be able to bring something that no other soul could replicate, and it would increase their happiness a little bit. I can't even explain how happy these souls were. Um,
what
but having me join them would make them even a little bit happier.
what do they look like? So was it just beams of light, but with faces?
Uh, what I remember is the faces. They had faces kind of like us, but and they were extremely happy, but they didn't look like it wasn't a human form. Like all I saw was the faces that kind of like came to the surface. So I kind of think like an orb-shaped consciousness, but somehow I was able to see their face clearly for the ones that came to the surface. Um, but anyway, they uh, they were real excited that I was going to join them. That they assured me that yes, it's a difficult experience, but you're eventually going to come join us. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. Keep in mind at this time I was very ignorant. I had no idea about anything, no experience, no nothing. But God said, okay, are you ready to begin this journey, this difficult experience kind of thing? And I said, okay, yeah, I'm ready. And like that, I was zooming away from this scene at high speed, like really fast. And God was still in communication with me, like mentally. And we started looking at all these planets I could go to, like thousands and thousands of different planets. I
Wow.
don't even I don't even know how many it was, but it was a lot. And the situation was the same in all these places. It was I would be a soul inside some physical body that would live a lifetime, doing whatever. And through the process, I would gain the wisdom and understanding I needed to really to grow myself and to prepare myself to enjoy a happier existence. And when we got to Earth, there was something about this place. I was absolutely positive. This is where I want to go. This is the place I want to have my experience, that kind of thing. And God said, are you sure? And when I said, yes, I'm sure, it's like that was the decision was made and it was finalized, and this is where I was going to go. Okay. And so that answered my question. And I was like back to floating next to my body, just kind of floating around aimlessly in my neighbor's yard. And my question had been answered. And I had more questions. I just wanted to understand what was going on. And I thought, okay, I understand where I came from and how I got to this planet, but why was I Aaron Thomas Green? Why was I this person? Why was I living this life? Like, how did that happen? And again, this experience replayed for me. This is something I had previously been through, but I'd completely forgotten about as a person. And so this memory started out, and keep in mind that the first
Mhm.
memory that I had that I just told, I was a new, inexperienced soul. But now for this next one, it was obvious I'd been through a lot. Like I wasn't so new anymore. I had a lot of experiences. I had lived multiple lives, that kind of thing. But it started out, I was very frustrated with myself. I was like mentally disheveled. I was kind of a mess, is how would describe it. Um, I was agitated, unhappy, and there was guides that they were there to help me, and they were trying to get me sorted out. And basically, they said, "We want you to go back." And I said, "Go back where?" They said, "We want you to go back to Earth." And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not going back to Earth, and you can't make me." And they agreed. They said, "Okay, yeah, you're right. We can't make you go back to Earth, but basically they were saying, hey, you need to go back to Earth to get yourself straightened out." And I said, "Well, I'm just going to stay here." And basically they were like, "Well, that's a complete waste. You could stay here, but you would stay in the same mentally disheveled state. You wouldn't be able to change. You're kind of like stuck here if you don't go back." And but I was very hesitant. I did not want to come back to Earth. And they said, "Well, can we show you some of the souls that you would help if you went back to Earth?" And I said, "Well, okay, I guess we could look at that." And so they showed me. They showed me some souls that I would be able to help if I came back to Earth. And that kind of triggered something deeper in me. And I was more willing to think about this possibility of coming back to Earth. I really like the idea of helping others. And somehow that thought, it like cut through all my frustration with myself and my self-doubt and anger, and got to something deeper. And so I agreed, and we started looking at what were some of the possibilities if I was going to come back to Earth. And so we transitioned to like a different, I don't know if it was a different realm or what, but we started looking at lives I could have here on Earth. And the first one they showed me, I would be an extremely angry person. Like my whole life would be dominated by anger. And how it works is my soul would constantly be working against that anger. Like this person would have a very difficult childhood. I think maybe they were abused or something. And as a soul, working against that anger my entire life would really grow me to be a more peaceful soul. And but I completely rejected that life. I was
Uh-huh.
like, I'm not living that life. No. And my guides respected that. They respected me saying no. And so we started looking at other possibilities. And so we went and looked at a set of parents that I thought, okay, these seem like a good fit. And we took a really close look at the parents. And the it's safe to say they had no secrets from me. I knew everything about them as people. I knew about where they were on their spiritual development. I knew where they would be after they passed away. Like I knew all about them. Okay, what kind of parents they would be, what kind of religious education I would get, how they would treat me. I knew that I would have an older brother and what our relationship would be like. And they seemed acceptable to me. There was some stuff about them I really liked. They were overall they were good parents. And we started looking at it. Okay, well, what kind of body could I have? Like what does that look like? And so we started looking at the genes available to these parents. What kind of body, what kind of baby they could make, what the options were. And the first option that stood out to me was that they had the genes available for a redheaded child. And I really liked that. The because red hair is kind of rare. It really appealed to me, that rare hair color. I really liked it. I thought it was neat. And I wanted to be a girl. I was really concerned that I might hurt other people, and I felt like being a girl was a much safer choice because girls are less prone to violence, they're less prone to get in a fight or whatever. And so I wanted to be a redheaded girl. And uh, those genes were available to me, but it's like there weren't enough options. They didn't have enough of those genes to really make the options work for me. I would have been kind of like socially awkward. I wouldn't have been able to get married. I wouldn't really fit in with other people. It wouldn't be the kind of life I was looking for. And so we said, okay, well, what about the boys? And so we started looking at what kind of genes were available for the boys. And there was even fewer options for a redheaded boy for some reason. But then we started looking at, okay, well, brown hair, what about that? And it became clear that there was tons and tons of options available for brown hair. That was like the dominant genes for these parents.
Oh,
And
that's
so,
interesting. So redheads are a rarity.
right,
Yeah, whether male or female, right?
right, absolutely.
Yeah.
They had those genetics, my parents did, but it was kind of rare. Like it wasn't like a dominant trait that they have. Uh, so it became obvious that a brown-haired boy was a better choice for me. The boy fit better with my personality, and the brown hair it gave me all kinds of options that I could have for every other trait imaginable. And another thing I'll go ahead and mention is that they had the option for a blonde hair, and I didn't want that option for whatever reason. But I remember that I picked the genetics so that if I had a child, the child could pick to be blonde. Like I wanted to have enough of the that gene so that if I ever had a child that wanted to be a blonde, they could make that choice. Uh, but we started looking at all the different options available, like the height, the eye color, what they would look like. And initially, I wanted to be really, really good looking, like the best looking guy on the planet, like incredibly good looking. And my guides showed me that, okay, that those options are available to these parents. You can choose that if you want, but they showed me the spiritual downsides. I would be arrogant. I would kind of look down on people who weren't as good looking. And the big one was I would be too promiscuous. Women would treat me differently if I was that good looking, and I wouldn't be able to resist certain temptations. And basically, I would be too promiscuous. And there was like a spiritual downside to that was very obvious. At my level of spiritual development, I needed to be have more self-control, I guess. And I wasn't quite there. And so we backed the attractiveness down to attractive, but nothing extraordinary. Um, as a younger man, my looks matched what I remember picking. I know I'm getting older and I don't
I
look as
must say,
good,
I think you're very handsome.
well,
Got a
thank
very
you,
nice
thank you.
defined jawline, right?
Thank you. But I remember as a younger man, how I looked matched with what I remember picking. And then we looked at intelligence. And again, I wanted to be like the smartest guy on the planet, just absolutely brilliant, like an Albert Einstein or something like that. And again, my guides pointed out that, yes, those genes are available to these parents, but there's some spiritual downsides to making that choice for you. Basically, you will be arrogant, you'll look down on other people, you'll have trouble relating to other people and making friends, and you would end up being an atheist. And it became obvious that these were all downsides for my spiritual development that I didn't want to deal with.
Mhm.
So again, we backed the intelligence down to a smart person, but no super genius or anything like that. And when I got what I considered to be the appropriate level of intelligence, I was like, okay, that feels about right. I think that's a good fit. And then, we looked at every aspect of this body. The hair color really is what I remember the best. So that's what I talk about the most. But every aspect of this body, we looked at it. I had a very good understanding of what I was getting myself into. And after we had the body all picked, my guides pointed out, well, there's an unintended consequence of these decisions you've made. This body that you've picked, it will have really bad acne as a teenager. It's just kind of a side effect of the genes that this person will have. Um, and so we took a close look at that, and it was clear that for about 2 years as a teenager, I would have really bad pimples and acne, like the worst in the school. And but it was also clear, even though that wasn't intended, it was like it was going to help me to grow, to become better spiritually. I would become more compassionate and less shallow, less looks based. But basically, it was going to help me with my spiritual development, even though it wasn't really something we were going for. So mainly because it was so short, I agreed to it. And it's important, I think, that I point out how short those 2 years looked to me at a spiritual level. Even though it was difficult, it seemed incredibly short those 2 years when I was looking at it from a spiritual development. It seemed like nothing. Okay. It's hard to describe how short 2 years looked like. But after we had the body picked, my guides, they had plans for my life. They started showing me things that I had done in previous lives. And basically things I had done in the previous life now were going to be, they were going to play a role in my upcoming life. And they showed me a number of things I had done in past lives, and they showed me how it would be played into my current life. How it worked was uh, I viewed it as like a mathematical equation. Like one side of the equation was in a past life, and now we had to balance out the equation in this life. Or you could say I wrote a check in the past life, and now I had to cash that check. Um, and it was necessary for my development that I receive what I had previously given out. It would like help me learn.
Uh-huh.
I would learn from some of the stuff I had done to other people that some things are good and some things are bad. And through this process, it wasn't a punishment, but it was a way for me to learn. And it was a very natural process. But these things that I had done in the past life, it's kind of like they were holding me back spiritually. They were preventing me from moving to higher levels, to greater happiness. They were like baggage weighing me down. And so I was happy to be in a position where I could get rid of some of this. But they showed me lots of things I had done. But one of the most clear-cut examples uh, they showed me in a past life, I'd been kind of a bigger guy. I'd been kind of strong and tall. And somehow I got in a fight with this other guy who was much smaller than me. And I easily could have avoided this fight. But I kind of instigated it, and I beat this guy up pretty badly. And he didn't really deserve it, and I was totally in the wrong. And my guide showed me all this. And when I had lived that life, it felt like I was kind of in the right. But as my guide showed me, it was obvious that I had been in the wrong. Um, but they showed me that their plan was that I would get my nose broken in the as a 12-year-old. Like I would get in a fight and I would get my nose broken, and that would be very difficult. But it was kind of like I would receive what I had given out. And there was another other things that I agreed to that are kind of too personal to get into, but I saw myself doing some horrible stuff in past lives. Um, and some of that stuff played into what I would receive in this life. And then, but they needed my agreement. Like they couldn't make this plan in my life unless I agreed to it. But I agreed to their plans.
So it's
Um,
quite detailed. Like the creation of you for, let's say, this life is really detailed, like the blueprint that you put together with, is it the creator or an
well,
angel? I don't know,
I
a
viewed
guardian
it as
angel or a
I
guide.
viewed it as guides. I think these guides were souls who had lived on Earth many times, and it's like they didn't have to come back to Earth anymore. And now they worked their role or job was helping other souls come back to Earth. And so they helped
Mhm.
me. And yeah, it was very detailed. Now
Wow.
it's tedious for me to try to explain all this stuff. It takes a while to talk about it, but in the time, it was very natural. It was very fast. There was no problem working out all these details. It was very smooth process.
I'm just going to share something with you as well because
Yeah.
the thing that really where I really connected with you, but you didn't know that who I was though, obviously, is because when I heard your interview with some other interviewers, um, it really brought out elements of my culture. So more like my
Yeah.
family from Taiwan, but they came from China originally. So elements of, culturally. So when you're telling me about the blueprint in our culture, there is a fortune telling thing. It's called 紫微斗数, and literally by the time your date of birth and the time and where you were born, they're able to map out what your life plan sort of looks like and what the
Okay.
key and so I think it must be sort of connected, and there must be some sort of science out that's way above us involved, right?
Right.
Yeah. And obviously, in our culture, we believe in incarnation, different lives, and also
Right.
different. We call it different heavens, different layers of heaven, and different layers of
Right.
hell. But I think it sort of sounds. like, quite a bit similar to what you've been describing as well.
Yeah, yeah. What you both of what you said matches perfectly with what I saw. And that's not at all the stuff I was taught growing up, but it matches what I saw very well.
It's so interesting. I'm gonna let you continue. I've got some
Okay.
questions for you after though. They're just coming up
Okay, sure.
as and when we're
Sure.
talking. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, yeah. So we mapped out how stuff I'd done in the past life was going to play into this life, and then they had other arrangements that they wanted me to agree to. I was going to help other people with their lives, and other people were going to help me. And there's a lot of situations and relationships that were planned out. Some of my work relationships really stand out. There's a whole bunch of uh, like it was already planned out where I would work, and a lot of these relationships were planned out. I remember specifically there was one person or soul who had been a friend of mine in a previous life. We were like pretty close in a previous life, and we were going to work together in this life, but our interactions were going to be different. We were going to kind of we weren't going to be good friends. We were kind of rub each other the wrong way. But by being forced to work with each other, even though we kind of irritated each other, it would um it would force us to grow a little bit, to exert effort to have a good working relationship despite our issues with each other, and that would help us both on a spiritual level. And there's lots of little interactions like that and big stuff, and I saw other people making agreements. Some of these souls made agreements that spanned multiple lifetimes. They might get some benefit during this life, and their agreement was, well, then they would help someone else in a future life, or something like that. There's all kinds of deals and agreements being made, and the guides could my guides, other guides, they can coordinate all this stuff seamlessly. It wasn't tedious at all for them. It's kind of hard to explain, but for them it was very easy to arrange all this stuff. But when all these different decisions were made, my guides wanted me to take a holistic view of my entire life, or what the plans were, and they stressed that these are the plans, but you can always change plans. You're not trapped in any of this. You're going to maintain free will during life. You can alternate, a lot of this stuff. But we took a look at the plan and the whole life and the body, all of it together, and they said, "Are you sure you're willing to go through this?" And I said, "Yes, I'm sure. I'm willing to go through that." And with that, it's like my initial question was answered, and I was back to floating um, in my neighbor's yard. And so I had one more big question. I wanted to know, okay, well, what happened to me between lives? Like what do souls do between lives? Like how does that work? And a whole bunch of I got like brief clips or snippets or little uh, like I saw brief scenes from previous times that I'd spent between lives in the spiritual realms, and it was very clear, just like you said, there's multiple levels of hell or hellish realms, whatever you want to call it, and some are worse and some aren't so bad. And then there's multiple levels of heavenly realms, and the levels of happiness. There's a whole bunch of different levels of happiness. It's not like all the souls are at the same level. Um, and the worst hellish realm I saw was just souls fighting endlessly, and I had been one of those souls. And when I stopped fighting with another soul, that's when I was able to leave. And and then I saw a number of heavenly realms and what those were like. But just like you said, there's a bunch of different layers of all this stuff, and how you live your life, what kind of internal nature you've developed, that kind of affects what level you fit in at. Um, so anyway, I after that question was answered, I was back to floating around, and I had the realization that, oh my gosh, after this life, I can transition back to one of these heavenly realms. Like I kind of like remembered that, and I saw this heavenly realm that I think that's where I would be going. It was like a city of light, absolutely beautiful,
Mm.
and I was so ready to go. I was so excited, and right when I had that realization, this being of light or angel, whatever it was, it came at me very quickly and said, "You're not to leave your body." And it's like, bam, I was back in my body, and my experience ended. And I tried to explain this to my mom, and I just couldn't explain it. And I went through life, and when I was 12 years old, I had my nose broken, but I had no memory whatsoever that I agreed to that. Um, and so anyway, that's the gist of my experience.
So, how do you remember everything that happened? I suppose, like now.
Well, shortly after my experience, about 6 months later. So I would think about this every day after the experience, trying to understand what had happened. And about 6 months later, I was contacted, like mind-to-mind communication, by my guides. I knew exactly who it was, and they wanted to hide my experience. They explained that it was interfering with me living life as intended, like I'd seen too much, kind of a thing. And they went on to also say that uh, in order for me to really be prepared to handle all this information I'd seen, they wanted to change my life plan to give me additional difficulties to overcome that would really prepare me to handle all this stuff. And I wasn't real happy about it, but I knew that they were right. So I agreed to their plan. We changed the plan, and uh, they said, you won't remember this experience until you're much older. But they assured me that I would get it back one day. And so that was when I was 6. And then when I was 36, I was reading a Newsweek magazine article about a guy named Eben Alexander. He was a neurosurgeon who had a near-death experience, and they had an article about him. But I was reading that article, and somehow that triggered something for me, and I remembered my experience. It's like it all came back to me,
Wow.
and so that's why I'm able to remember this, I think, better than a lot of kids, is because really it was kind of like when I was 36, I got all these memories back. So it's not quite like it's a little bit different remembering this from so long ago.
Like you could probably make some more sense of it because more mature, right? As well.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Wow.
as a
Very
kid,
cool.
I didn't have a good understanding of the world. I didn't know things. It was more confusing to me. But at 36, I had a good understanding of a whole lot of things, and so I was able to process my experience a lot better.
That's so interesting. Okay, I've got some questions for you, Aaron, if that's
All right,
okay.
all right,
And
sure.
and it's okay. I don't know if you can answer them, but I'm going to give it a go anyway.
All
So,
right.
from your experience and having this amazing experience, actually, was there any division like was there religion after we leave? So obviously on Earth we've got different types of religions, right?
Right,
And that also it brings people together, but also segregates people as well. So
right.
was there any of that when you had your experience that you could understand or see or I don't know whether that was something that interested you when you were going through your experiences or a question to ask, but
Right. So what I saw was that souls can like divide themselves into smaller groups if they choose to. And it's kind of like the way a person lives their life, they maintain that same viewpoint for the most part when they pass into the afterlife. So if a person wants to just be around others like themselves in some kind of religion, they can maintain that in the afterlife. They certainly don't have to. What I saw was important is how we treat other people, how loving we are. Um, that's really what's important, and the religions aren't quite as important.
so it's through your actions and what and how you how compassionate you are or how you help others. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
your
more
thoughts
religion.
and your actions. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then I guess my following question from that is um so from your experience, what I've learned is that we're here on Earth because Earth is a challenge for us,
Uh-huh.
and we have to go through our lessons here, no matter what it is, to enable us to have spiritual growth in the
Right.
next journey. And we might need to keep coming back here or other planets. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, we gotta get to a basic level of love, of where we can, give a little bit of ourselves to help those around us. Like we need to get to some basic level before we can leave this physical realm and be done with it.
That's so interesting. Okay. And a lot of the challenges that we come or we experience in our lifetimes, is it agreed? Um,
Yeah.
like a written, sort of a bit of a written plan. And
Right.
I guess my question to you is if someone's going through a really hard time at the moment, for various different reasons, what can you tell them to give them, some hope or relief or something to look
Right.
forward to at least?
Yeah, I know, there's people going through some really tough stuff, and I totally understand that. And don't ever want to minimize the struggles that someone's facing. But what I would point out is that there's a silver lining to this. There's a benefit to it. It's not meaningless suffering. Like we obtain growth from these struggles. they benefit us. I know it doesn't feel like that, but when we get past these struggles, and we leave this life behind, and we can look back on those are the times that we really have the most spiritual growth. And that spiritual growth, it correlates to an increased happiness in the spiritual realms. So there's a huge benefit to us for going through these struggles that we're going to really feel in the spiritual realms when we get back there. And it's going to significantly increase our happiness that will have made all these struggles and difficulties worthwhile.
And oh, that's really good. So when you were in the realm that wasn't so good, yep, um, I think what came across was that at some point everyone from that realm go can leave as well.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. What I saw was that basically I had been like a mean person, like I'd been an angry, hurtful person, like I must have hurt a lot of people, and I continued like that in the afterlife. And so I was with other souls who were just like that. We were all we just wanted to hurt each other and dominate each other and control. And so it just devolved into this horrible fight, and we just fought over and over and over again. And but when I stopped wanting to fight with others, a being of light or an angel or whatever came down and swooped me up out of that. And he told me that, when I no longer wanted to fight with others, I didn't belong there anymore. And he also said, every one of those souls down there, when they're ready, they're going to leave as well. Like nobody is trapped there forever. They're all going to leave.
So it feels like a forever learning sort of cycle, but on different realms, different planets.
Well, I wouldn't call it forever. Um, what I saw was when we get to whatever the minimum threshold of loving your neighbor, being kind and compassionate, and being just a decent human being. When we get to that basic level, basically we're ready to move on to a higher level of existence, and we don't have to come to this physical realm anymore.
Something which I heard you say in a different interview, and I wanted to highlight this, if I don't know if I remember correctly, so correct me
Okay.
if I'm wrong, is that we are all extensions of the creator
Right.
or
Yeah, that
a beam of the creator in some way, but I might be
yeah,
wrong.
that's what it appeared to me is like we're all like a little piece of God. Like God created us from himself. Almost like, when a woman has a baby, it's kind of like you grow from the woman. It's similar with God. We're like a little piece that has grown from God, and now we're kind of evolving into our own being, our own soul or whatever. And we'll always be part of God, yet we're like, we have our own personality and traits as well.
That's so interesting. Um, Something that um, everybody goes through is loss of loved ones, right?
Uh-huh.
Whether it's human or animal form as well.
Right.
Aaron, what can you say about that topic? And I think it's just really to give, from what you're telling me though, like we all progress on. So,
Yeah.
it's hopefully it's a bit more comforting to know that.
Yeah, I think the truth is more comforting, but it's hard to lose somebody, even if you have a perfect understanding of God and the afterlife, and you know you're going to see them again. It's still hard to lose someone you love. I've been through that recently, but
I'm
it
so
does help
sorry.
me to recognize that this person or this animal, like God loves them, they're well taken care of, and we're going to see them again. And when we see them again, it'll be a much happier situation, and it won't be this earthly difficulty. It'll be in a much better setting, and we're all going to recognize each other and remember each other, and be much happier for having gone through this experience. We'll be in a much more joyful place.
With pets, do you know whether they also do they change form or are they also are they similar to us?
Yeah, that's a great question. What I do know is that animals have a spiritual journey like us. They're spiritual beings just like humans are. But if they're less evolved than humans, or if they're fundamentally different than humans, I'm not quite sure. But they're going through. It was very clear to me that they're going through a journey just like us, where they're growing, they're maturing, and they're going to continue to exist in the spiritual realms just like we are.
That's great. It also leads me to wonder if someone's got quite a cushy life, then does that limit their spiritual growth?
Yeah, that's a great point. Essentially, as far as I can tell, the those that, generally speaking, those that have the most difficult lives, they also have the most capacity for growth. Like it's not all the same. We don't all get the same growth out of life. And those with the cushy, easy life, they might not get as much growth as those with the more difficult, challenging life. It's not all the same for everybody. But those who have what we would call a cushy life from a spiritual perspective, that's still a difficult experience. The easiest life on earth is still a difficult experience in which that person can obtain a lot of spiritual growth.
Oh, that's so interesting, Aaron. Have I missed out any sort of questions you think I should be asking as well?
Well, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff here. What I think is the most important, that's probably what I'd want to talk about a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay, I saw all this stuff, well, what's the most important lesson that we can learn in life? How can we take this experience and really live a better life so that we get more spiritual growth and therefore more happiness when we turn to the spiritual realm? And it's pretty straightforward. There's two main things. One is recognizing that yes, God exists. Like that's important. Somehow there's a fundamental importance there that you can't get around. To recognize, yes, a loving God exists, and I'm going to continue to exist when I die or when my body dies. The other big thing is just to love your neighbor, to be kind, compassionate, honest, generous, you know, provide services to others, help others. Um, all the different manifestations of love. If you can live that and be a good person, like that it really matters. It's important. There's a spiritual importance to it. And if you approach life with that kind of intention and you try to do those things, it's really going to help with your spiritual growth. And it's going to result in a much more happiness when you return to the spiritual realms.
thank you. So, what happens if someone doesn't believe in God? So, if they're atheist, what happens? Do you know?
Yeah, so in one of these realms I was in between lives, uh, I was with a whole bunch of other souls who were like me. We were standing around in complete darkness. And it was it was very confusing and mildly unpleasant. It wasn't like a horrible existence, but it wasn't a happy existence either. And I think um, those who deny the existence of God, basically they're in darkness. And when they back to the spiritual realm, they're in spiritual darkness, and that's just kind of how they exist. But they're not stuck like that. There is a being of light going around trying to help those of us who were stuck in this realm, and they couldn't force their help on us. But I eventually agreed to accept this angel or being of light or whatever they were. I accepted their help, and I was able to leave that realm. But I think atheists and those that don't believe in God, generally speaking, are going to be in darkness when they get in the spiritual realms.
Thanks for sharing that. So, yeah, so is it actually very important to believe in God? Yeah, or our
Right.
creator, whatever you want to
Right.
call it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to look
Yeah.
very different for different people, and
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. Um, I mentioned to you I got really sick, and I was
Mhm.
able to make a recovery, thank goodness. But what that has in terms of how that's changed me, I'm on that spiritual journey now where I call it I want to practice great compassion.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to do. And I think you become more aware of your surroundings and people, right? When you try and practice great compassion, I suppose.
Yeah, I think going through these difficult experiences really makes us more compassionate and helps us love others. And I know it's probably very, very hard for you to go through all that, but it's probably grown you significantly on a spiritual level.
I think so. I think it's important to put your pride and ego down and to really think not that you're not special because everybody is special, but you're really not
Right.
that special, right? As in, you know, and if you could think, well, I don't want to be preachy because everyone's got their own journey to go on, but I think if we do love other people and could bring some more joy into their lives or compassion to their lives or direction or guidance or make a little bit of a difference. Um,
Right.
it's a good feeling at the end of the day, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah. And Aaron, I've got my last question, I guess, is if somebody is really stuck and they really need help, what would you suggest that they do?
Well, yeah, that's a tough question. It's going to be different for everybody, but I mean, help is available. There's all kinds of people available to help those that are, in different struggles. Whatever your struggle is, there's someone out there who can help you. And I'd say try to find that help. And then that correlates to the spiritual realms where there's help available to other souls there. And we're not meant to do this life alone. We're meant to help each other. And, you asking for help, it might be just what someone else needs, to help you might be good for them. And uh, I guess I'd say find the help you need wherever it might be.
What about if you need spiritual help?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of people that specialize in this stuff that they're willing to help. I'm you can contact someone can contact me. I'll do what I can. Uh, I guess that's what I'd say is keep struggling, keep going through it, and look for help wherever you can find it.
Knowing that the struggle you're going through is basically your test for a test that you need to really try and not resolve but go through, right? Yeah. You
Yeah,
might struggle for some time, but there's, like you said, there's a silver lining. There's a
yeah.
silver lining.
It doesn't last forever. You will get through whatever struggle you're going through, and you will be better off for having going through that struggle. It will have helped you.
Brilliant. Actually, I keep saying I've got a last question, but then questions keep rolling off. Yeah.
Okay.
Why do you believe we have to help other people in this lifetime?
I think in the spiritual realms, our greatest happiness is being with each other and being with God. And if we get better at being with others in this life, it'll help us to relate to others in the spiritual realms, where we'll be able to have uh, a deeper intimacy with others because we've developed these loving traits, which are very important not only in this life but also in the spiritual realms.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you. So I hope I didn't ask you really hard questions, just more curious.
Oh
But
no,
then,
you're good. These are good questions.
do you think I've missed anything out that, could help other people or open
Uh,
open their
no, I mean, nothing jumps out at me. No, I thought these were good questions.
Oh, well, if people wanted to get hold of you, and just to let everybody know, I looked Aaron up on Facebook and I
Yeah,
messaged him there. Like, where's the best place for people who want to get in touch with you to go?
sure. So I'm easy to find on Facebook, Aaron Thomas Green. You can email me, aarongreen1975 at gmail.com. I'm pretty easy to find. And I'm writing a book. Eventually, that'll be ready for publication as well.
Oh, that sounds really exciting. When it comes out, let me know because I will
Oh,
put
I
it
will.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
hopefully in June. That's what I'm hoping for. And you could buy it on Amazon or it'll be free for download on my website when I get all that stuff set up. If you don't want to buy it, it'll be free to anybody who wants it.
Lovely. Aaron, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to stop the recording